Just because I had a baby girl, my son-obsessed mother-in-law immediately ran off to care for my sister-in-law who had a boy. My mom felt terrible for me and immediately booked me in Y88,000 luxury suite at a postpartum care center. But when I was discharged, the center took me to a tiny single room instead. I thought they'd made a mistake. Then the manager looked surprised and told me, "Ms. Sunyan, your husband changed the package last month. He switched it to 2 single rooms at Y40,000 each." I grabbed the tablet from the receptionist. At the bottom was a note. "With client approval, and Y8,000 service fee will be deducted." When did I ever approve that? My voice was shaking. The receptionist's face went pale. "This is your husband's signature from when he changed the package. One room is D08, the other D15. He said pregnancy had worn you out, so he'd handle it, and that you knew about it." I ignored the pain from my fresh stitches, braced myself against the cold wall, and rushed down the hall. I had one thought: D15. Get to D15 and see who was staying there. The door to D15 was cracked open, and I heard my mother-in-law, Zhao Gilan, booming inside. "My precious grandson is so lucky. Look at this south-facing balcony, all that sunshine on his cute little butt. Zhou Ting really is the hero of this family." I shoved the door open. Zhao Guilan was holding a bowl of chicken soup, spoon-feeding Zhou Ting one bite at a time. On the other side, my husband Chen Mo and his younger brother Chen Yu were crouched on the floor sorting baby supplies. When he heard me, Chen Mo snapped his head up, panic all over his face. He kept desperately signaling me with his eyes. I walked straight over to him. I took the baby pillow from his hands. "Where did you steal this from?" "My friend gave this to Sixi." Zhou Ting glanced at me. A faint smirk tugged at her lips. "Oh, you're here. Have a seat." My mother-in-law stood up. "Steal? What are you talking about? We're family. Whatever Sixi has belongs to my grandson, too." I was shaking with rage. The pain in my incision mixed with the fire in my chest until my vision nearly went black. "Come on, honey, let's go back. Don't stay here. These people are shameless. You just had a baby. You can't be getting this worked up." Fang Yao was holding my daughter, Sixi. The little one had woken up somehow, made 2 tiny noises, puckered her lips, then drifted right back to sleep. "See how reasonable she is? Go back to your room. Since you behaved yourself this time, maybe I'll bring you a bowl of chicken soup later." Fang Yao half-supported me as she helped me back to the room. "Su Nian, don't get mad. Let me explain. Mom struggled to raise us 2 boys. All she's ever wanted is a grandson. Chen Yu and Zhou Ting don't have much money, and no one else can care for her. You're the older sister-in-law. For me, just let it go." The entire time, he never even looked at his own child. He just kept defending himself and worrying about his brother and sister-in-law. I ignored him and looked at my sleeping daughter. She was so tiny, so soft. 4 days into this world, and she was already being treated like this because of me. My nails dug into my palms. The pain cut through the fog in my head, and suddenly I felt much clearer. Chen Mo was still going on and on. I turned and slapped him. "No one to care for her? Your mom promised she would, which is why my mom booked this center for me. Did your whole family suddenly get amnesia? Are you serious?" "Sunian, we're family. Do you really have to make such a huge scene? And what do you need a giant suite for by yourself? You're angry, so I won't argue. I'll pretend today never happened. Now let me see my daughter." "Now you remember you have a daughter?" I motioned for Fang Yao to take the baby back to the room first. "That necklace around Zhou Ting's neck, isn't that the one I kept in my drawer? And the stroller in her room? My mom had someone bring that back from Hong Kong. Your whole family is really talented at taking what's mine and making it yours." We only borrowed the stroller. Chen Yu and Zhou Ting forgot to buy one, and if I didn't give it to them, Mom would have made a scene. "They forgot? Funny how they never forget to eat? You're scared of your mom making a scene, but you're not scared of me doing it? I was having surgery and told you to wait outside the delivery room. One call from your mom and you disappeared. Then I came here to recover and found out you'd switched the room my mom paid for. Is your skin made of concrete? Did I ruin your family in a past life or something?" Right then, Zhao Guilan walked over. "Sunia and Zhou Ting already lost both her parents. Isn't that sad enough? You're her sister-in-law, living comfortably while she struggles. Aren't you ashamed? You treat me like garbage and I'm not pitiful? My daughter was bullied by all of you the moment she was born and she's not pitiful either?" Zhao Guilan clearly hadn't expected me to be that direct. "Who wants your lousy stroller? My precious grandson doesn't even like it." I had barely started postpartum recovery when my mother-in-law dragged my husband over to divorce me. All because I gave birth to a girl. "You gave us a girl who'll only cost money. What terrible luck. Look at your brother, he had a son. Now that's something to be proud of." I didn't want them disturbing my daughter, so I changed clothes and stepped into the hallway. My mother-in-law immediately tried to drag me to the civil affairs office for a divorce. I'd had a C-section, and a sharp pain ripped through my incision. I shoved her hand away. The hallway erupted in noise. Several new moms poked their heads out, and a staff member hurried over to break things up. I had no energy left to fight, so I went back to my room. The moment the door shut, I could still hear yelling and Chen Mo defending himself outside. But strangely, I felt calm. Fang Yao was right. They weren't worth it. Just a bunch of awful people. Fang Yao was worried about me, so she made a bed on the floor beside mine that night. After midnight, I stared at the ceiling as 3 years of marriage flashed through my mind like movie scenes. When we got engaged, Zhao Guilan held my hand and said, "Let's keep the bride price at Y20,000, just for tradition. I'll treat you like my own daughter. When we have money, I'll make it up to you." At our wedding, Chen Mo paid for the banquet. Behind my back, she complained to the Chen relatives, her parents are loaded, yet we're paying for their own daughter's wedding banquet. But I'd stayed in this city after college, so I had no relatives nearby. Only 2 tables of guests from my side even came. Not long after the wedding, she demanded my salary card, claiming she'd keep it safe for us. That's what triggered our first huge fight, and from then on, we couldn't stand each other. She even threatened to make her son divorce me. But Chen Mo and I were newlyweds and completely in love. He refused, played peacemaker between us, and eventually cooled down the whole mother-in-law war. The year after we married, Chen Yu brought Zhou Ting home. Zhao Guilan adored her and thought she was better than me in every possible way. Before their wedding, she even bought Chen Yu a Y200,000 car in cash. My younger son is getting married. Of course he needs a car. I never cared about any of that. Zhao Guilan could spend her own money however she wanted. But she had no business eyeing my family's assets. Once she started fishing for details about my parents' business and who would inherit it, my dislike for her hit its limit. My parents run a seafood business and work non-stop. A month before I gave birth, one of their export orders ran into trouble, so they were slammed. My mom called and offered to come stay with me for the delivery, but Chen Mo swore everything would be fine and told them to come after the baby was born. Looking back, it feels like this was planned from the start. My family lived in another city. They thought they could wear me down and force me to give in. After all, I'd already had the baby. What could I do? "You're still awake?" "Yeah. If something's eating at you, talk to me. Don't keep it bottled up." "Talk? Where do I even start?" Zhou Ting and I got pregnant around the same time. For my first 3 months, the morning sickness was so bad I got dehydrated. Zhao Guilan volunteered to take care of me, then cooked tofu and cabbage for 3 straight days. I couldn't take it anymore and sent her home. She immediately went crying to the relatives about me. After that, she went to Zhou Ting's place every day, making bird's nest soup, buying imported fruit, treating her like royalty. During Lunar New Year, my mom sent me Y20,000 for supplements and nutritious food. "Give your brother Y6,000 to tide him over." Of course I refused, but Chen Mo couldn't say no to his family. He ended up borrowing Y6,000 from an online lender to give them. We had another huge fight over it, and I asked for a divorce right then. But later, when I went to the hospital to end the pregnancy, I changed my mind. Chen Mo dropped to his knees and begged me, promising over and over that he'd stop letting his family take from us endlessly. Looking back, I was way too naive. He'd spent 30 years in that family mess. Getting out was never going to be easy. Maybe he didn't even want out. Maybe he wanted to drag me down with him. Fang Yao hugged me while I cried. I cried hard, then suddenly laughed. What good is crying? His whole family had coordinated this because they knew I'd be weak after giving birth. They expected me to swallow every insult in silence. Tears weren't going to give them a conscience. They'd only make me sick. Early the next morning, I called my mom and calmly told her everything. My parents lived in the Guangzhou-Shenzhen area, about 5 hours away by high-speed train. They arrived that afternoon. My mom saw my tiny north-facing room, then heard how the package had been changed. She exploded. Chen Mo and Zhao Guilan came over carrying a bag of apples. Zhao Guilan awkwardly said, "We were wrong about this, Nian Nian, don't hold it against me." My mom wasn't buying it. She pointed right at them and let loose. "I paid for it. What gave you the right to change it? What gave you the right to switch anything?" My parents had built a tiny fish shop into a 1,000 square meter seafood processing plant, so my mom knew how to stand her ground. She'd always stayed polite for my sake, and Chen Mo's family mistook that kindness for weakness. "Where's that angelic service now? Who do you think you are taking my daughter's things? Either restore her suite and compensate her, or give us a full refund. Otherwise, I'll make sure everyone hears how you run this place." "Your daughter had a useless girl. Her money is my son's money, which means it's mine too. Su Nian married into our family, so she should do what we say." "Do what you say? Who do you think you are? We've been way too nice to you." "You don't have a son. Everything you own will eventually go to Su Nian, and that means it'll belong to my son." I froze. Even my mom was stunned by how shameless she was. My dad, who hadn't said a word, finally spoke coldly. "Chen Mo, I thought you were easygoing and decent, so I trusted you with Nian Nian. Turns out you were just hiding what you really are. Your whole family is unbelievable." My mom's right. Deep down, your whole family has always looked down on me. He turned to my mom. "Please stop making a scene. It's a tiny issue. Is all this really necessary?" "Tiny issue?" My dad punched Chen Mo in the face. "Nian Nian just had a baby and this is how you treat her? Fine. We have plenty of time. We'll see how this plays out." I left with my parents immediately. The new postpartum care center was the best one in the city. My postpartum caregiver, Ms. Li, was in her early 40s, straight-talking, efficient, and great at her job. Chen Mo sent me dozens of messages, apologizing while also blaming my parents for getting involved. I told him exactly what I thought, then blocked him. Seeing how down I was, Ms. Lee changed my daughter's diaper and said, "Don't get angry while you're recovering. A lot of things can turn out not to be what they seem." I took her advice and turned off my phone. My parents stayed at a nearby hotel and visited every couple of days. Other than Fang Yao, I told no one the address. The center had over 30 branches, so Chen Mo could search all day and still never find me. The day my postpartum recovery ended, the sun was bright. Mom carried Sixi, Dad carried the luggage, and we went back to the apartment I'd owned before marriage. It was a small one-bedroom apartment about 60 square meters that Dad bought me in college. Back then, he just wanted me to have somewhere to land if I stayed in the city for work. I never imagined it would become my emergency escape. Dad asked, "Are you really sure the baby is only 1 month old?" "I'm sure. Once Zixi's jaundice clears and she's stable, I'll go back with you." Mom sighed. "That's fine. No one gets to bully my daughter, and from now on, Zixi can take our family name." But the moment we reached the door, I spotted a pair of women's shoes I'd never seen on the rack. Red soles, sparkling rhinestones, the kind a woman in her 20s would wear. I jammed my key into the lock and pushed the door open. One glance inside and the blood rushed straight to my head. There were the two people I hated most. Zhou Ting sat in the middle of my couch holding her baby, and her son had soaked a large patch of my white silk cushion. When she saw me, she didn't even look up. She carried the baby into my bedroom like I wasn't there. Dad dropped the suitcase to the floor. "Why are you here? Who gave you a key?" Zhao Guilan looked up. "My son gave it to us. If you hadn't gotten us kicked out of the postpartum center, would we be staying here? And how were we supposed to know you'd come back?" I let out a cold laugh. I looked into the bedroom. Zhou Ting was crouched beside the chair I used for painting, changing her baby's diaper. Her luggage was everywhere. My wool seat cushion had been tossed on the floor, stained with a huge bright yellow mess. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" "Mom, she hit me." "What the hell? You called me here to help, and now I'm the one getting hit." "Ah!" "Sis, I didn't mean it. Mom said this chair was big and I don't have a changing table, so I just used it for now. Besides, who knew you'd even come back? We were planning to leave today anyway." "It's just a cushion. I'll buy you a new one later." Mom panicked beside me. "Easy, easy, watch your incision." Just then, Chen Mo came home. The second he saw my parents, his face went white, and the takeout bag slipped from his hand. "Mom, Dad, why are you here?" "Chen Mo, you searched more than 30 postpartum centers one by one and used your project bonus to pay for this one. I thought you'd changed, but you're still the same. You moved outsiders into her home while she was recovering after childbirth. Is that the kind of man you are?" The moment Dad said that, Zhao Guilan exploded. "Your daughter only had a girl. Why should my son spend money on her?" I couldn't just let them end up on the street. "Chen Mo, I used to think you were just spineless. Now I see you're better at scheming than the rest of your family combined." "Su Nian, stop making things up. What's scheming? The postpartum center kicked us out and we had nowhere to go. That's why we're here. If you force us out, you're disrespecting your elders. Once people hear about this, let's see who still wants anything to do with you." "Respect you? You think you've earned that? I used to keep trying to reason with all of you. Now I realize your whole family doesn't understand basic human decency." Right then, the doorbell rang. Fang Yao walked in with two people. The man was built like a tank and had a slightly blank stare. The woman wore athletic clothes and a half-shaved ponytail. One look and you could tell she trained all the time. I'd spent 2 days picking these two from a security company. I originally planned to bring them in a few days later and give the Chen family a serious wake-up call. Turns out, I needed them early. "Who are you people?" The man ignored him, walked straight to the couch, sat down, and crowded Zhao Guilan to the side. The woman stepped closer immediately. "So you're the people who freeloaded off my sister's postpartum suite? She just had a baby. Did you come here on purpose to make her life miserable?" Zhao Guilan was just about to start yelling, but the man Da Yong suddenly let out a loud yell and rushed toward Zhou Ting like he was going to grab the baby. Zhou Ting screamed in terror. "I want to hold the baby! Let me hold the baby!" Then he pulled a Bluetooth speaker from his pocket, blasted a cheesy celebration song, and started dancing in place while bouncing closer and closer to Zhou Ting. Chen Mo rushed over to block him. "Don't touch the baby! Are you crazy?" Zhao Guilan froze at the chaos, then ran over to shield Zhou Ting too. Da Yong didn't care. We're leaving right now!" She grabbed Zhou Ting by the arm, and the two of them stumbled toward the door. But Sister Fang suddenly sprang up like she'd been launched, clicked the lock shut, and planted her back against the door. "Leave, nobody's leaving. Don't you love it here? Didn't you decide this place was basically yours? Then let's all hang out and get to know each other. No need to rush off." Zhao Guilan's knees nearly gave out. Da Yong had already wandered over to Zhou Ting's suitcase, muttering, "Got anything tasty in here?" Chen Mo was sweating bullets. He stepped forward and reached for the lock. "Trying to open the door? Did you ask me first?" Sister Fang gave Da Yong a look. He immediately turned and slowly started walking toward Chen Mo. "I'm calling the police. Su Nian, you've gone way too far." Funny, The people who broke into my home were accusing the homeowner of going too far. I watched Chen Mo's family panic like cats on a hot roof and fought back a laugh. Young reached for the suitcase zipper. "Don't touch my stuff!" Then the baby started crying. Zhao Guilan forgot her fear and jumped back in. "You lunatic, that's my precious grandson's stuff. Touch it and see what happens." That worried about me touching it? I motioned for him to open the suitcase. The second it opened, everything inside spilled out. My brand new coat and several of my jewelry boxes. "You actually stole my things too?" "Stole? I found those on the floor." "Sure, why don't you go find some jewelry at a gold store next?" Chen Mo clenched his jaw. "What exactly do you people want?" "What do we want? You lived in my sister's place for free, trashed it for free, and stole her stuff for free. You think all of that is just fine?" Sister Fang gave a cold laugh. Young stared straight at Zhao Guilan. "Pay up! Pay my sister back!" As he said it, he grabbed a rolling pin from the kitchen and wildly waved it through the air. Chen Mo shielded Zhao Guilan and Zhou Ting as they backed into the corner, his face white as paper. My parents sat on the couch, staring in disbelief, though the corners of their mouths kept twitching upward. "What do you people actually want?" "Ha ha ha, mop the floor clean, I want to sleep on it." Young suddenly tossed the rolling pin aside and plopped down on the floor. Zhao Guilan shrank back even farther. Looking exhausted, Chen Mo asked me, "You got it out of your system now? I'll send them away. From now on, you and I can just live our life together." Live our life together? Someone once asked me, did Chen Mo save your life or something? His family is packed with walking red flags, so why are you still with him? Funny enough, he actually did. One year, we joined a prize hiking challenge and got caught in a hypothermia emergency halfway through. If Chen Mo hadn't given me his blanket and gotten me into a cave for shelter, I honestly might not have survived. After that, I started seeing him differently. Later, when he pursued me, I naturally said yes. Chen Mo was handsome, tall, and had been a star forward on his college basketball team. To everyone else, he looked like the perfect partner. And honestly, I understand why Zhao Guilan never thought I was good enough. In her eyes, her oldest son could do no wrong. She thought she was getting a daughter-in-law from a well-off family who could help them out. Instead, the woman wouldn't contribute a dime and even took control of her oldest son's paycheck. Of course she couldn't stand that. You know the saying, never argue with idiots. They'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. My biggest mistake was wasting all that time trying to reason with Chen Mo and his family. That was never going to work. "Anyone here?" We got a call and came to see what's going on. Young instantly went back to that blank, stunned look. Since neither side would back down, all of us were taken to the police station. I found a moment to text my dad and told him to have Zhou Ting's luggage tossed downstairs. To me, Zhao Guilan was the kind of person who thought rules simply didn't apply to her. I never understood where that confidence came from, but now I did. Ignorance really is fearless. She was unreasonable at home, and she was just as unreasonable at the station. "It's just a dirty couch and some old cushion. Why are you asking for so much? Sunyan, you're heartless. Aren't you afraid that karma will come back on Sixi? I'm heartless? Your younger son moved into my place for his wife's postpartum recovery without even asking. That wool cushion was imported from Australia and cost $7,000. Dry cleaning the sofa cover is $800. And that ceramic vase you smashed was a wedding gift from my aunt. I still have the receipt. Charging you $8,000 is me going easy on you." Her face went from red to pale as I called her out, like someone had ripped off her mask in public. She tensed up in embarrassment, then suddenly curled her lips into a cold, nasty smile full of defiance. "What proof do you have that we broke any of it?" Zhao Guilan shouted with her chin up, refusing to admit a thing, as if she hadn't just been tearing through my place and smashing things. Shame clearly wasn't in her vocabulary. Zhou Ting immediately jumped in to back her up, clutching the baby and taking half a step back. Her tone had that smug confidence of someone hiding behind backup. Exactly. Don't you people always say you need evidence? She can't just point at us and say we did it. For all we know, she broke it herself and is trying to pin it on us. I forced down my anger and slowly turned toward Chen Mo, who was standing off to the side. "You think so too?" Chen Mo's face went grim. "I'm the one who brought them in. The stuff got damaged right in front of me. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Don't go after my mom or my sister-in-law. I promise I'll make it up to you and replace everything that was damaged." "No need." The words came out before I could stop them, and there was no room for negotiation in my voice. Before he could say anything else, I pulled out my phone and quickly connected to the dedicated app. "Oh, I forgot to mention this. Someone broke into my apartment last year, so after that I installed hidden cameras throughout the place. They cover every area. There are no blind spots." I turned and handed my phone to the officer beside me. "This is the footage I just pulled up. It caught everything. Clear as day." Before I even finished speaking, Zhao Guilan charged at me like she'd lost it and slapped the phone out of my hand. It hit the cold floor, and the panic on her face was impossible to hide. "Don't watch it, I'll pay." "Fine, I'll pay. I'll send you the money right now. Whatever it costs, I'll pay." She hurriedly pulled out her own phone. Her hands were shaking so badly that it took several tries just to unlock it and open the payment screen. The sudden change was so fast it caught everyone off guard. Even Chen Mo frowned. You don't have to pay. Seriously, when I get paid next month, I'll buy neon brand new replacements, even better than the old ones. Get off me! Zhao Guilan violently shook his hand away. This is my fault. It has nothing to do with you. I'll pay. I'll pay right now. My stomach dropped. Something felt wrong. Her reaction was way too extreme. She wasn't just scared of paying for the damage. She was scared of someone seeing that footage. I quickly bent down to grab my phone, but the second I touched it, my heart sank. The once smooth screen was shattered like a spiderweb, and the phone wouldn't even light up. The moment Zhao Guilan saw that, she lunged for the phone again like a maniac. Luckily, the officer stopped her, but she'd completely lost control and even started swinging at the police, clawing at the officer's arm. The officer's expression hardened as he gave her a stern warning. Zhao Guilan kept screaming insults, spit flying, her twisted expression genuinely frightening. While everyone was distracted, I grabbed my shattered phone, rushed into an empty mediation room nearby, and locked the door behind me. My heart was pounding, but I could barely contain my excitement. Talk about perfect timing. When I connected to the app earlier, the footage had already been cached on my phone. Even with the screen cracked, the video could still play. The mediation room was dead quiet except for the faint audio coming from my phone. I stared at the screen as the progress bar crawled to the end, then finally shut the phone off. Suddenly, every mystery had an answer. Zhao Guilan's bizarre behavior, Chen Yu's existence, and the secret this family had buried for more than a decade. I took a deep breath, pushed down the storm of emotions, and walked back out. Before I could explain anything to the police, Chen Mo came rushing around the hallway corner, hair a mess and eyes bloodshot. Nian, this is all my fault, all of it. Please, I'm begging you, can we just go home? From now on, you control all the money. I'll take care of the baby. Whatever happens at home, you call the shots. You won't have to worry about anything. My mom is just a woman from the countryside. She doesn't know any better. Please forgive her one last time. I promise I'll keep her in line from now on. I looked him straight in the eye. My voice was calm, but there was ice underneath it. Then do you know that your younger brother Chen Yu is actually your mom's child with another man? What the hell are you talking about? Chen Mo's face changed instantly. Bullshit! That's complete bullshit. Chen Mo, don't listen to her. She's trying to turn you against me and destroy this family. I couldn't be bothered arguing with her. I opened the cached video on my phone and sent it straight to Chen Mo. The screen clearly showed everything Zhao Guilan and Zhou Ting had done inside my apartment. Zhao Guilan was crouched in front of my bedroom closet, digging through everything. She tossed my clothes and jewelry around carelessly. Then she neatly folded the gold jewelry and designer clothes I'd left at the apartment instead of taking to the marital home, and packed them into the suitcase Zhou Ting had brought. Zhou Ting stood nearby holding the baby, looking smug. Mom, this is a lot of stuff. What if Nian notices? And what if my brother finds out we took her things? Won't he get mad? Notice what? Don't worry about Chen Mo. He was never close to me anyway. I left him with his grandmother in the countryside when he was 3. Even when I went back to care for him, he'd cry at night because he wanted to sleep with her. Chen Mo and his father are both outsiders. They're not really one of us. If his dad hadn't fallen off that scaffolding and left behind a compensation payout, I would have dumped Chen Mo somewhere years ago. Why else would I have raised him this long? Zhao Guilan stared at the phone screen, furious, thrashing around as she tried to lunge forward. Turn it off! Turn it off! But Chen Mo looked frozen in place, his eyes locked on the screen. He wasn't listening to her anymore. The video kept playing. Mom, hurry up and pack it! If my brother comes back, we're screwed! Zhao Guilan patted his hand. Xiao Yu, relax. Mom will get you a big house. If your real dad hadn't been scared the Chen family would make trouble and forced us apart, the 3 of us would have had a good life years ago. And Chen Mo's dad left compensation money. I secretly saved most of it. When the time comes, it's all yours for a home and a wedding. Chen Yu sounded worried. What if my brother finds out I'm not really his brother? What if he turns against us? What's he gonna do? He's an outsider. You think he can turn the whole world upside down? If I hadn't been stuck with him back then, why would I have had to leave your real dad and suffer all these years? He owes us for the rest of his life. The recording abruptly ended. The hallway outside the mediation room went dead silent. You could hear every breath. Chen Mo jerked his head up. His eyes were bloodshot, hollow, and devastated, like his entire world had just collapsed. I stared at Zhao Guilan, pale and leaning against the wall. Let me guess. You were already pregnant with Chen Yu when you came back to the Chen family and married Chen Mo's father, weren't you? Pulling something like that back then took some nerve. Su Nian, you did this on purpose. You knew all along, didn't you? You just want to destroy our family. Chen Mo, don't listen to her. She's poison. The person who destroyed this family was you. Chen Mo suddenly roared, his voice cracking with rage and despair. I'm the outsider? Ha! No wonder you've hated me since I was a kid. You ignored me when I was sick, wouldn't pay for school, and when I got married, you only gave me $20,000 and acted like it killed you. I always thought you just hated Nian. Turns out the person you never wanted was me. Chen Mo, you ungrateful brat. If I hadn't been stuck raising you, I would have run off with Xiao Yu's father years ago. I fed you and clothed you all these years, and this is how you repay me? You used the money my dad paid for with his life to support someone else, and you still have the nerve to call me ungrateful? Zhao Guilan, who do you think you are? Chen Mo's eyes were red and his voice was almost gone. Zhao Guilan was speechless for a second, then raised her head to curse him. But as soon as she stood up, she clutched her chest and her face turned dark red. Mom! Chen Mo and Zhou Ting, who had just rushed over, shouted at the same time. They hurried to catch her, but her mouth suddenly drooped to one side. Ungrateful, ungrateful. Call an ambulance! I stood off to the side, coldly watching the chaos. Most of the resentment I'd carried for so long finally began to fade. But what replaced it was a sadness I couldn't put into words. A family built on lies and schemes had finally fallen apart. I dragged myself home exhausted. The moment I opened the door, I saw my mom holding Shixi in the living room, gently soothing her. Her soft singing filled the room, and warmth washed over me. I walked over, took my daughter from my mom's arms, brushed my nose against her soft little cheek, and breathed in that faint baby milk smell. The last bit of darkness in my heart vanished. As long as my daughter was safe and healthy, nothing else really mattered. Over the next few days, Chen Mo didn't contact me. Zhou Ting did, though. She called furious, claiming I'd caused Zhao Guilan's stroke and demanding that I pay every cent of the medical bills, or she'd make my life miserable. Are you an NPC or something? Every word you're saying is English, but somehow none of it makes sense. She had a stroke because she got worked up over the mess she created herself. What exactly does that have to do with me? I hung up and immediately blocked Zhou Ting's number. Ms. Su, the Divorce and Property Division shouldn't be a problem. With this evidence, we can get the divorce through and also seek compensation from Chen Mo for emotional distress and financial losses. I shook my head and turned down any extra compensation. First, I get full custody of Zixi. Chen Mo only gets visitation, and every visit has to be approved by me. Second, Chen Mo's entire family, including Zhao Guilan, Zhou Ting, and Chen Yu, stays away from Shixi permanently and does not interfere with her life. Third, we split the marital assets 60-40. I take 60% and he gets the other 40. I didn't want any more ties to that family. I just wanted out as fast as possible so I could focus on my daughter. A week later, Chen Mo finally contacted me. He sounded exhausted and hoarse. Zhao Guilan had survived, but she was left partially paralyzed. Her speech was slurred, her arms and legs barely responded, and she could only lie in bed and rely on someone else to care for her. When I heard the news, I lay on the couch holding Shixi and laughed until I couldn't breathe. Karma doesn't miss. In the end, people who hurt others eventually face the consequences of what they've done. The wildest part? Chen Yu, Zhao Guilan's precious younger son, took one look at the reality of caring for a paralyzed parent, secretly packed his things, and disappeared without a word. That left Zhou Ting alone, caring for her bedridden mother-in-law while raising a baby at the same time. Her life turned into non-stop chaos. Meanwhile, my own life slowly got back on track. I spent my days with Jixi, helped my mom around the house, and felt lighter and happier by the day. But Chen Mo still refused to give up or agree to the divorce. Every few days, he'd show up at my apartment with baby supplies and gifts, offering to help with Jixi and hoping he could win me back. I kept the stuff. He's her father, so providing for her is the bare minimum. No reason to turn it down. But my dad never budged. Every time Chen Mo came over, Dad blocked the doorway, wouldn't let him inside, and wouldn't let him touch Jixi. I knew he was protecting me, afraid I'd soften and let Chen Mo hurt me again. As Jixi's jaundice gradually faded and her little face turned rosy and bright, I knew it was time to end this for good. I texted Chen Mo and asked him to meet me at a coffee shop near the neighborhood so we could settle things once and for all. The coffee shop was quiet. Chen Mo sat across from me looking completely worn down. The dark circles under his eyes looked painted on, stubble covered his face, and he clearly hadn't slept properly in days. Nian Nian, please don't divorce me, I know I was wrong, I really do. He leaned forward and rushed to explain. I've taken care of everything with my mom. I hired a professional caregiver to look after her in the hospital, and I'm paying for it. She'll never come near you or Shixi again. I won't let anyone hurt you anymore. I've cut off Chen Yu and Zhou Ting too. From now on, it'll just be the three of us. Can we please make this work? I raised a hand to stop him. My voice was calm but firm. Chen Mo, do you really think I'm divorcing you just because of your mom, Zhou Ting, and Chen Yu? He froze, looking confused. You didn't argue even once. You just turned around and did exactly what they wanted. I still remember you telling me about that time your boss's favorite messed up a project and tried to make you take the blame. You refused on the spot because you said you wouldn't let yourself be treated unfairly. So tell me, Chen Mo, is saying no to your mom really harder than saying no to your boss? I paused, looked at his pale face, and continued. It's not that you couldn't say no. Deep down, you decided your mom and Chen Yu were your real family, while I was the outsider expected to compromise and sacrifice. If I hadn't found those cameras and learned the truth, you never would have seen the problem or tried to change. You're not changing for me. You're changing because you feel guilty. His face drained of color. His lips moved, but he couldn't get a single word out. I grew up thinking Chen Yu and I were real brothers. Even when my mom played favorites, I never imagined she was hiding something this huge. So your pain, your mom's feelings, and your idea of keeping the whole family happy have always mattered more than how I felt. I picked up the divorce agreement from the corner of the table and gently slid it toward him. Chen Mo, it's not like I never gave you chances. I gave you one when we got married. I gave you one every time your mom mistreated me. And after all this happened, I still gave you time to think. But you've used up every chance. There's no going back for us. He suddenly grabbed my hand. His eyes turned red and his voice broke. I can change, Neon. Please trust me one last time. Zixi is still little. She needs her dad. Don't you remember when we went hiking and got trapped in a cave during that storm? I gave you the only blanket and stayed by the entrance all night. You told me you'd remember that forever. I remember. I can change, Neon. Please trust me one last time. Zixi is still little. She needs her dad. Don't you remember when we went hiking and got trapped in a cave during that storm? I gave you the only blanket and stayed by the entrance all night. You told me you'd remember that forever. I remember. I pulled my hand back, still calm, then took a bank card from my bag and set it on the table. This card holds our joint savings from the marriage, $600,000 in total. Under the 60-40 split I mentioned, I'm taking $360,000 and leaving you $240,000. After this, we're even. No more ties. You can pay Zixi's child support according to the divorce agreement, or you can appeal. Either way, I'll accept it. With that, I stood up, grabbed my bag, and walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. I knew my new life started right then. You didn't argue once. You just did what they wanted. I still remember you telling me your boss's favorite messed up a project and tried to make you take the blame. You refused because you wouldn't let yourself be treated unfairly. So tell me, Chenmo, is saying no to your mom really harder than saying no to your boss? I paused, looked at his pale face, and continued. It's not that you couldn't say no. Deep down, you decided your mom and Chen Yu were your real family, while I was the outsider expected to compromise and sacrifice. If I hadn't found those cameras and learned the truth, you never would have seen the problem or tried to change. You're not changing for me. You're changing because you feel guilty. His face drained of color. His lips moved, but he couldn't get a single word out. I grew up thinking Chen Yu and I were real brothers. Even when my mom played favorites, I never imagined she was hiding something this huge. So your pain, your mom's feelings, and your idea of keeping the whole family happy have always mattered more than how I felt. I picked up the divorce agreement from the corner of the table and gently slid it toward him. Chenmo, it's not like I never gave you chances. I gave you one when we got married. I gave you one every time your mom mistreated me. And after all this happened, I still gave you time to think. But you've used up every chance. There's no going back for us. He suddenly grabbed my hand. His eyes turned red and his voice broke. I can change, Neon. Please trust me one last time. Zixi is still little. She needs her dad. Don't you remember when we went hiking and got trapped in a cave during that storm? I gave you the only blanket and stayed by the entrance all night. You told me you'd remember that forever. I remember.